Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining this Indic Academy session this evening. So before we start, let's just remind ourselves what the Indic Academy is all about. We are an institute for Indian knowledge systems. We envision the well-being of all beings. We believe in the wisdom of Indic heritage and how it fosters health, happiness, and harmony for all humanity. So today's talk is going to focus on harmony, and the session will be hosted by Shri Jayaraman Mahadevan ji. He has a PhD in Sanskritam from the University of Madras, and he studied the Vedas and the Shastras at the Veda Vijnana Gurukulam in Bangalore. He is the Director of Textual Research at the Indica Academy. And so before he was the Director of Textual Research at the Indica Academy, he was the Director of Research at the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandira. He also recently received the Samskrita Grantha Purushkara from the Karnataka Sanskrit University for his book called Mantra Artha Chintanam. In today's session, Jayaramji will discuss the Rudram, which is a healing Yajur Veda mantra that is dedicated to Lord Shiva. Jayaramji, will you please join the session?
Namaste, Sophia ji.
Namaste. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. So I'm going to hand over the session to you now, and I'll see all of you towards the end when we open for questions. Thank you.
Namaste to one and all. I would like to start the session with a Vedic Shanti Mantra. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Virjankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. At the outset, I would like to thank Indic Academy, Shri Harikiran ji, for bringing up this topic of the nature and the sacred ecology and the Vedic guidance in that regard. And as my passion, my desire is not only learning the Vedas, but also exploring the meaning of the Vedas and it's contemporarily, how can we absorb that in our life? So that is my passion, that is my work, that is where my love lies, being trained in the Vedic tradition. So hence, when Hariji mentioned about this topic, I was very happy to take up this discussion on the respect for nature, whereby we can lead a harmonious, happy, respectful life with the nature, respecting it deeply. So I thank Hariji at the outset and all the friends at Indica. And also I thank all the participants who have joined this evening for this talk. So without much ado, I would like to go into the topic discussion. So I hope you are able to see the screen. So I would like to start my talk from the 16th century. So the picture on the right is a 16th century story. I'll just start this talk with that. So the right side, on the right side, you can see the picture of Shriman Narayaniyam, Bhagavan Guruvayurappan, and the composer of Shriman Narayaniyam, that is Melpattur Narayana Bhattadri. And this text is studied even now. So many people study this text, chanted, the Parayana of this is done everywhere. And there was a contemporary of Melpattur Narayana Bhattadri. You see him on the left. He is Pundanam. While he is also a devotee of Guruvayurappan. So Guruvata Purisha of near Thrissur, Kerala. So both were, what is common between both of them, they lived in the same time and both were devoted to Bhagavan Guruvata Purisha or Guruvayurappan. Then what is the connection to Shri Rudram? We will see that soon. And the ecology or the sacred ecology, we will see that. So Melpattur Narayana Bhattadri wrote so many scholarly works. He is a scholar, great scholar of Vyakarana. He wrote Prakriya Kaumudi and such other texts. And Narayaniyam, his masterpiece. So to overcome his Vata dosha, he wrote the text as a prayer, as a Samarpanam. And then he was respected in his times. And a fellow devotee who used to be there around in the Guruvayur area, who was also a composer, but in the Malayala Bhasha, was a Pundanam, whom you see on the, the left side of the image. So this is Narayana Bhattadri and this is Pundanam. And both respected each other because both were blessed by Guruvayurappan and both of them had a great respect for each other. So the story goes, the legend or the tradition goes like this. Once Pundanam, who was not scholarly, who had not studied the Shastras, who was sitting in the Guruvayur temple. This is what I have heard from the various pravachanakaras. So I'm just sharing that with you. So he was sitting in the Guruvayur temple and then he was chanting Vishnu Sahasranama, where Padmanabho Maraprabhu, Padmanabho Maraprabhu. He was chanting this portion of Vishnu Sahasranama. Pundanam was chanting this. And Narayana Bhattadri, a great scholar, he was passing by. Then he just asked, Pundanam, what are you chanting? Padmanabho Maraprabhu. Padmanabho Maraprabhu. Then Bhattadri, though he respected Pundanam's devotion, he just laughed at Pundanam. What are you chanting? Maraprabhu. Maram in Tamil, Maram in Kannada, Mara in Kannada, and then Maram in Kerala, Bhasha, Malayalam, everything means a tree. So Maraprabhu, do you say that our Prabhu, Guruvayurappan, is in the Maram or the tree? So you are saying that our Lord is the Lord of the trees? Then he laughed at him. Bhattadri, the scholarly devotee, laughed at the simple devotee, Pundanam, and then went away. Pundanam became very, very sad that, oh, I make mistakes. Even to worship the Bhagavan, I am unable to chant the shlokas properly. So he felt very bad. That night, Bhattadri went to sleep. And then he got Guruvayurappan in his dream. And Guruvayurappan said, what did you do to Pundanam today? Krishna, Guruvayurappan, in the dream came. Then I know, I just laughed at him. In the dream, this conversation was happening with Bhattadri and this Guruvayurappan, Sri Guruvayurappan. I just laughed at Pundanam because he was chanting in the place of Amara Prabhu, the Lord of the gods even, Amara Prabhu. He should have split it like this, Padmanabha, Amara Prabhu. He should have chanted like this. Grammatically, he made a mistake. He was saying Padmanabha, Maraprabhu, and he was trying to explain that Bhagavan is present in tree and so on and so forth. But then Krishna simply asked the question, am I not present in the trees? Am I not found in the trees? Am I not a Sarvavyapi? Am I not present in every other being? Am I not the Antaryami everywhere? Go and apologize to Pundanam. Next day, Bhattadri came running and fell at the feet of Pundanam. So then Bhattadri's scholarship was refined by Pundanam's bhakti. So this is how at every stage there are many such stories which indicate such a relationship, touch and go relationship between Pundanam and Bhattadri, where Pundanam's simple bhakti refines the scholarliness of Bhattadri. Now, what is the connection here is Pundanam, see, Pundanam's scholarship refined Bhattadri's knowledge. Pundanam's simple bhakti refined Bhattadri's knowledge. And where did that Pundanam get the simple Pundanam, where did he get his input from? He got the inputs from the nature. So he saw, he's a simple person, simple devotee. Pundanam also wrote a text like Jnanapana in Malayalam, sung even now. So Pundanam was inspired by the nature. In the nature, he saw Bhagavan. And then when he chanted Padmanabho Maraprabhu, he thought that Maraprabhu means the Lord present in the Maram even, the trees even. And then later Bhagavan clarifies that I am also present in the trees. Vrikshanam pataye namaha. This is found in Rudra, Shri Rudram. So Bhagavan speaks, Bhagavan's breath is the Vedas. Yasya nishvasitam Vedaha. So what Bhagavan informed in the dream is nothing but the Vedic truths. So the Vedic truth was reminded to the scholar, Bhattadri, through the dreams. Am I not Vrikshanam Pati? So the point here, what I'm trying to convey here is that the nature inspires the simple, devoted people. And these simple, devoted people, they refine the scholarly people whose texts and whose inputs lives for centuries. We study Narayaniyam even today. And what is the authority which makes even the scholarly of those times to accept the teachings or the refinements from the simple people, the authority of the Vedas. The Maraprabhu, when it was authenticated by Vrikshanam Pataye Namaha, Bhattadri was convinced. And he went about his scholarship, receiving the refinement repeatedly from Pundana. So this is the complex web of knowledge creation in our tradition. This is one such illustration which I could bring through, for which the root cause, the inspiration is from the Vedas. Vrikshanam Pataye Namaha, which is very much a part of Shri Rudram. See, when we speak of Indian knowledge systems, IKS, this is the web of Indian knowledge systems. So simple people, the nature, the scholars, and at the root of everything, what authenticates everything is the Vedas. So in that sense, all these connect together and beautifully lead to the emergence of the traditional knowledge in the form of Vedas and the later Shastric literature. So in a sense that the Vedas are always close to the simple people, always appealing to the nature, connected with the nature and intertwined with our knowledge systems. It's never separate. It is never away from the very much throbbing nature in which system, the ecology that in which we live. So that is the point that I try to make through this instance from the 16th century. And the second aspect is why this talk now? Why not now? Because sustainability is a very important topic these days. And the UN discusses about sustainability and defines it. Sustainable development requires an integrated approach that takes into consideration environmental concerns along with economic development. This is what the UN says about sustainability. And environmental concerns is a word that is to be underlined in red color pen. Because we should be concerned about the nature. Whom will we be concerned about? The one whom we love, we will be concerned about them. We should start loving nature. We should start revering nature. We should start respecting the nature. Where will that come from? It will come from the knowledge that originates from the Vedas, which glorify nature. So for sustainability, basic reverence and respect and love for nature is essential. That's what the UN document, which has come very, very late, says that. And of course, we also know that there is a huge fight. There is a possibility that even a world war may erupt for the water. So water may lead to the next world war. All over the web, you can see that is the case. So many documents in this regard. So in that regard, first we have to start loving nature as part of our own self. Our own extended self is the nature, and we are part of that nature. And that love gets imbibed, ingrained only when we start connecting with the Vedic wisdom in the right manner. So that is the purpose of this talk, just to strengthen the existing connectivity that is always there and to show that we are all connected with the nature. So that is the purpose of this talk, to bring an awareness about our connectedness with the nature. We are part of the nature. Then the next question will come, okay, India is the land of the Vedas, but why in the land of Vedas there is no sustainable development, there is still pollution, so on and so forth. You speak about all this Vedic wisdom, everything. Then why has the current day India suffering in all these ways? The point is, we have forgotten the Vedas, and hence we have forgotten the Vedic ways of living also. Mantras are chanted, no doubt, but the meanings are not reflected upon. There are so many yajnas, yagas, homas, pujas, etc. are performed. Who has the time to sit and reflect upon what the mantra means? What is the context? Why are we chanting this mantra? The mantrartha, even everywhere the Vedic rituals are performed with great reverence and respect, but not even in the Vedic rituals, in family rituals, the mantrartha is never discussed. Why this mantra? But in very, very strictest term, in the Nirukta Shastra itself, we see Sthanurayam bharahara kilabhut adhitya vedam navijanati yortham yorthagnyayit sa sakalam bhadramashnute nakameti jnana vidhuta papma. The Nirukta says that a person who carries merely the Vedic words is just a haraharaha, a carrier of load. He is a sthanu, means people used to move from village to village carrying huge load. So in between between two villages or in the path, they used to construct some a pillar like thing where they can keep their load and weight. So relax. So that is a bharahara, pillars and a support system where you can unload your weight for a time being before you start carry on with your travel. Nirukta says that a person, Nirukta, which is one among the Vedangas dating back to the before Common Era. So a person who merely carries the Vedic words, a mass of Vedic words without knowing the meaning, he is just a pillar supporting the weight. So it is a Vedic bhara he is holding. Adhitya Vedam navijanati yortham, who studies Vedas but not thinks about the Vedic meanings. Whereas the one who yo arthagnyayit, the one who knows the Vedic meanings, sa sakalam bhadramashnute, all well-being will attend. Such a person who studies, reflects, and then lives according to the Vedic way of life, then he attains all well-being. Vedas has everything. So we have to go back not only to chanting the Vedas, feeling its vibrational value, we have to go into the Vedic meanings and then how it refines. So in that regard, we have to look at Vedas from a new perspective. And one more thing is, when we speak about the Vedas, it is not only the mere puja of the nature. Vedas also advises to utilize the resources of the nature, but in a reverential way. In the Chamaka Prashna, we see Ashma me, Mrittika me, Girayascha me, Parvatascha me, Sikatascha me, Vanaspatayascha me. Have everything. You want, you have mountains, stones, sand, all the plants, trees, own everything. May, to me, let me attain everything. But at the same time, with a respectful way. The same Veda says, Napsumutra Purishan Kuriyat, Na Nishtivet, Na Vivasanasnayat. Don't defecate in water, and then don't spit in water, and then don't bathe with bare body. So all these instructions are there. So Vedas is a balanced compendium of a utilization of the nature in a reverential manner. And it also is an appreciation, a poetic appreciation. The study of the Vedas, reflecting the meaning of the Vedas, also brings about a love for nature. While there is a pragmatic advice to utilize the nature for all material needs, there is advice in the Vedas to respect and not pollute or defile the nature. And there is also poetic expressions, very minute expressions, very beautiful expressions about the intricate aspects of the nature, which also sprouts in our mind as love for the nature. So these are all that the Vedic literature can do to us. And what we are going to do in this much of an introduction is needed about what our Vedas contain, unfortunately, because we have come very far away from the Vedas. So this much of a background had to be given. So in this portion, or in this kind of session, what we will try to do is just immerse ourselves into the Rudra and how the Rishi appreciates every aspect of the nature as divinity itself, as an expression of Rudra itself. So now let's spend some time listening to the exalted expression of the Rishi, who respected, appreciated the nature in various ways. Now, to some scholarly input on this is that there have been so many commentaries on the Shri Rudram. So I go by the Abhinava Shankaracharya Bhashyam. So the date of the author is somewhere around 16th, 17th century. One is not sure, but it's a beautiful publication from Vani Vilas Press in the 1962, which is available in the web. So all my interpretations are based on this very good publication. Now, a few words about Rudra, Sri Rudram, before we get immersed into it. Sri Rudram is basically from, we can see it is found across the Vedic literature, which emphasizes the importance of it. But in the current tradition, we can see that Sri Rudram is found in the Taittiriya Samhita. Taittiriya Samhita, the Kanda and fifth Prashna of Taittiriya Samhita, we find Sri Rudram. And then this Sri Rudram is also called as a Shatarudriyam. What is Shatarudriyam? Means Shate Shakhasu Pachyate Rudriyam Shatarudriyam. So that which is read in all the 100 branches of Yajur Veda. So we see that in the Mahabhashya of Patanjali, we see that Sahasravartma Sama Ekavimshatidha Bhahvricham Shatam Adhvaryu Shakhaha. So 1000 branches of Samaveda existed, 21 branches of Rigveda existed, and 100 branches of Yajur Veda existed. We have only 4 or 5 branches of Yajur Veda remaining now. Taittiriya, Maitrayaniya, Katha in portions, Katha Shakha in portions, only a few Shakha, and these are only available these days. And in Shukla Yajur Veda, we have Kanva Madhyandina Shakhas. Of 100 branches, we are left with some 4 or 5 branches of Yajur Veda, Shukla and Krishna put together. But in ancient time, in all 100 branches of the Yajur Veda, we found this Shri Rudra Prashna, hence it is called as a Shatarudriyam, one of the interpretations of the term Shatarudriyam. And we see in Sutta Samhita also, Shatashakha Gatam Sakshat Shatarudriyam Uttamam Tasmat Japatamat Tasmat Tajapamatrena Sarvapapai Pramuchate. Such an exalted, respected, oft repeated mantra is Rudram. So hence such is the value of this. And Bhattabhaskaracharya also says, Ekashatam Yajushakhaha Tasu Rudropanishad Amnayate. There are 100 Yajur Veda Shakha. In all those 100 Yajur Veda Shakhas, you find this Rudram. Such is the important. But we don't have those 100 Shakhas now. As I said earlier, we have 4 or 5 Yajur Veda Shakhas available. So, especially because my Vedic Shakha is Taittiriya Shakha, so I go by what the Taittiriya Samhita and the Taittiriya reading and what the commentaries of that, especially the Abhinava Shankaracharya commentary, based on that I will present. And this Rudra Shatarudriya is also called as Rudraika Dashini. Rudra Eka Dashini. That's also another name. Again, there are multiple interpretations. One interpretation is, one of the most significant interpretation is that which has 11 Anuvakas, Eka Dashini. So that Vedic portion which is expressed in 11 anuvakas, Ekadasha means 11. So that is Rudra Ekadashini. So Abhinava Shankaracharya gives the splitting of the content therein. He says in the first anuvaka, pleasing of Rudra by praising Shri Rudra, and then second to 8th anuvakas, Rudra as a Sarveshwara, Sarvatmaka, Sarvantaryami, means Sarveshwara, Lord of all, Sarvatmaka, present everywhere, and Sarvantaryami, present as the indwelling divinity of each and every being. So that is mentioned in 2 to 8. This is where our description and appreciation to the nature comes. Then in the 10th Anuvaka, there are prayers to Rudra, and finally there is prayer to Rudra Sangha. So the groups of Rudra that we find in the cosmos. So that is given. This is the structure. But basically we will be focusing on this portion, 2 to 8 Anuvakas. So this is about introduction. And then the greatness has been sung of this Rudra. Sarvopanishadam Saraha Rudradhyayaha Samarthitaha Bhogarthino Mumukshorva Prayashchittarthino Piva Rudropanishadam Muktva Gatir Anyana Vidyate. Shiva Puranam. In Shiva Puranam it is said that all essence of all the Upanishads is Shri Rudram, and then be it a person who wants bhoga, happy life experience, material experience, moksha, or prayashchitta, he has committed some mistake and he wants to do atonement. For that also the chanting of Rudropanishad. So this is also called as Rudropanishad. Shatarudriyam, Rudraikadashini, Rudra Upanishad. So all these are Rudropanishadam Muktva Gatir Anyatra Na Vidyate. For Bhoga, Moksha, Prayashchitta, this Rudra can be chanted. This is Shiva Puranam on the greatness of Shri Rudram. And beautiful, Suta Samhita also says, Vrikshasya Mulasekena, Shakha Pushyanti Vayatha, Shive Rudra Japat Prite, Prita Evasya Devataha, Ato Rudra Japadeva Bhukti Mukti Prasidhyataha. So just like watering the roots of a tree, all the parts of the tree are addressed, or nourishment moves to all the entities. Similarly, by chanting Rudradhyaya, all devatas are addressed. So such is the greatness, such is the reverence. Why we chose Rudradhyaya for this nature connect? Because Rudra is such a celebrated text. Whatever is represented in Rudra is presented in Rudra is a representation of the entire Vedas. So to emphasize that, all these importance or the reverence that is attached to Rudra, we are looking at it. Now, let's get into the aspects of nature that are discussed in Sri Rudradhyaya. So, what are all the aspects of nature that the Rishi, this Vedic Rishi, enjoys and expresses in Rudradhyaya, where and all he sees the manifestation of Rudra, the various hues of the Surya Devata, sun. So, there he sees, and then in flora and fauna, means in the plants and trees, and even in the animals, all kinds of animals he sees, and then the various kinds of landscapes. In that he sees the presence of Rudra. And about water, there is a great flow. Various aspects of water is celebrated by the Rishi who gave us the Rig Veda mantra, the flow of the water, the various sources of water, the river and its bank. So how much the Rishi loved water in the nature more than any other aspect. So that comes through. And finally, while the nature outside is celebrated, the Rishi also does not fail to note the differences in nature and celebrate the diversity. Accept the diversity and defy the diversity, or glorify, or see that as a divinity. So all these aspects we can see in this Rudradhyaya. Now, let's first go into the first aspect. I will just give the mantra, and then there will be an accompanying picture also, and the description from the commentary will be given. I always ensure that whatever interpretation that I give on any Vedic mantra, that's my principle and policy, and that is advisable also. Whenever we speak about the meanings of the mantras, we should, I would humbly opine that we should not say that this is what I understand from the mantra. No, this is what the commentators say. If we adopt this approach, see, even the commentators who have come in the rich Shastric tradition, they provide the diversity, beautiful explanations. So why to go with our limited understanding when the commentators have themselves given so many deep interpretations? So in that sense, whatever meaning of the mantras that I give is traceable to the commentary. So hence I have presented the screenshot of the commentary also for reference, so that it stays within the parampara, true to the parampara. It stays true to the parampara, and even staying true to the parampara will never impede the insights. No, the parampara, Vedic parampara, Shastra parampara, never at all impedes creativity and rich interpretations. So hence, staying within the parampara also, we can see how rich the Vedic mantras are there. Now, the first mantra about the colors or hues of the sun from the Rudra, selections from the Rudra. Asau yastamro aruna uta babhrus sumangalaha ye che magum rudra abhito dikshushhrita sahasra shovaishagum heda imahe. This is the mantra. So Rudra is indicated by these 5 words here. Asau, Tamraha, Arunaha, Babruhu, Sumangalaha. So these 5 expressions are there with from this mantra. So what do we see? So Asau means this person, this. Who is this? Whomever we can see in person directly. So he is addressed as this. So Adasastu Viprakrishtam, someone who is perceptible but far away. Just the sun is mentioned here. So this Adas Shabda in Shastra is used when we say something is perceptible but far away. The sun, moon, etc. All these are perceptible but far away. Adasastu Viprakrishtam. So Asau Pratyaksham Paridrishyamanaha. So the meaning that the commentator gives is the one who can be directly perceptible. So Rudra is seen as the sun who is directly perceptible. So Bhagavan, so the very first description we can see is God, you can relate to such a God whom you can directly perceive. Means the connect with the divinity increases when you can perceive the divinity. So that is the very first approach, very first mantra that I choose from the Vedas. So Asau, Pratyaksham Paridrishyamanaha. We are all driven by our senses. So in the sense, if something can be provided to the senses as a manifestation of the divinity, will our Shraddha not be strengthened there? So hence the first portion, first word that I choose from the Rudra is Asau. Pratyaksham Paridrishyamanaha. Very tangible, directly perceptible Surya. And not merely directly perceptible, he is also wonderful. Why? The mantra says, Asau Tamraha Arunaha Babruhu Sumangalaha. What is Tamraha Arunaha Babruhu Sumangalaha? Udayakale Atyanta Raktavarnaha Tamraha. Now you visualize, as you listen to the talk, you visualize or look at the picture in the frame. You visualize that you are standing before the rising sun. So the various hues of the sun is celebrated. He says Tamraha, the copper color of the sun. So how is the copper color described? Atyanta Raktavarna, extremely red color sun. When it rises, Udaya Kale, during the sunrise, in the very beginnings, it seems whoever has expressed this have went and sat there and observed all the changing hues of the sun. So that is the appreciation of the nature that comes out through this. So extreme crimson color is a Tamraha. Oh, there I can see Rudra. Arunaha. Tadanantaram Ishadraktaha Arunaha. Then what happens as the sun slowly rises, the deep reddishness comes down. Ishadraktaha means it is a light red in color. So the deep crimson color is Tamraha, and then Arunaha is the lighter red in color. So slowly as the sun rises, the Rishi sits and watches it. Asau yas Tamraha, Arunaha, and then Babruhu. Tataha urdhvam pingala varnaha babruhu. After that, the tawny color. So yellow, it slowly moves to the yellowish tinge. So deep red, then light red, and then it moves to the tawny or the yellowish tinge. So yellowish brown, lightly yellowish brown color it comes. So that is babruhu. So these are the beautiful changing colors of the sun that the Rishi sits and observes, and in each and every changing aspect of the Rudra, changing of the sun, he sees Rudra manifesting. So, and so this is Babruhu, and then Sumangalaha, Andhakara, Himadi Varanena, Jagat Saukhya Hetutvat, Sumangalaha. So the Rishi also says he is most auspicious. So he removes darkness, he removes the snow or the Hima. So all that he removes and he brings in a sense of well-being. Hence he is Sumangalaha. So the changing colors and then the beneficial change, happy change that the sun brings about, all these are enjoyed in this Vedic mantra, and every aspect of the sun, these aspects is celebrated as Rudraha. Asavyastamro arunauta babhrus sumangalaha. So this is one aspect. And then why does this aspect being taken up initially? To that, the next mantra responds. Why should we start with the sun? Asavyo vasarpati nilagrivo vilohitaha utainangopa adrishannudaharjaha utainam vishwabhutani sadrishto mridayatinaha. So this mantra says that this nilagrivaha, vilohitaha, this reddish color one, Rudra, who is also known to have a green throat because of he took that halahala visha. So he moves about. In the form of sun, he moves about. Now, this sun, this representation of Rudra in the form of sun, Utainangopa Adrishan, even the cowherds can see. It is not that one has to become a scholar. One has to learn, undergo all the agamic and other traditions, knowledge to see this pratyaksha manifestation of Rudra. Utainam gopaha adrishan. Even the cowherds can relate to this form of Rudra. Utainam gopa adrishan, adrishan udaharjaha, udaharyaha. So gopalakaha api, the normal cowherds in the village who roam about grazing the cattle can see this pratyaksha manifestation of Rudra. And then udaharyaha, udakasya harikaha, Mahilaha. So those women who go to the river, carry water for their household duties. So they can also see the sun. So in the morning, the cowherds take the cattle to the forest. They can relate to this form of Rudra, Tamra, Aruna, Babhru, Sumangala. The women of the family who go and fetch water from the rivers, they can also relate to this Pratyaksha Rudra Devata. And then Utainam Vishwa Bhutani Sadrishto Mridayatinaha. Vishwa Bhutani. Not only men and women, Vishwa Bhutani, Go Mahishadayaha. All kinds of cattle also, they look up to the sun and they can relate to the sun. So as I mentioned earlier, the simple Pundanam in comparison to the scholarly Bhattadri was inspired by the nature. He could see Devata in the nature. He can see Maraprabhu. So similarly, in the Rudra, we can see that Gopaha, Udaharyaha, Vishwabhutani, they can relate to Rudra in this form and they can easily connect to this Rudra. So that's how. So the Vedas respect this. The Vedas respect the simple bhakti, and that's where we are lacking now. We have sophisticated everything, and so we are moved far away from the nature. So this is the simple bhakti which stems from the appreciation of the nature as divinity, as documented in the Vedas. That is our tradition. Bhattadri was also convinced because the Vedas also authenticate that. So hence, as a scholar, he would have certainly went back to the Vedas and checked. Yes, does the Vedas accept? Yes, that is what the Vedas say. So whichever is the manifestation of the nature, which is appreciable to everyone, so that is where divinity resides. And what more tangible form you can provide than the various hues and beneficial forms of the Surya Devata. So that is why the sun was taken up predominantly. So this is the sun, the Surya, as appreciated by the Rishi and expressed as the Rudra. Now we come to the water. The Rishi becomes even more ecstatic when he describes the water. So there, Namah Shigriyaya cha Shibhyaya cha Namah Urmyaya cha Vasvanyaya cha Namah Srotasyaya cha Dvipyaya cha. So in all these forms of water, the Rishi sees Rudra. The Vedic mantra drashta sees Rudra. So what are all the forms of water? Shigriyaya cha. Shigrasu apsu bhavaha shigriyaha. The fast flowing water. So there he sees Rudra. Now move the scene from the sunrise and go and sit near a flowing water source. Now come to that nature setting, a fast flowing river. So in that fast flow, the Rishi sees the Rudra manifest, that pulsation of the nature, which is expressed through the fast flow of the water. There he sees Rudra. Shibhyaya cha, somewhere the flow is so massive that it makes a lot of noise. Shibha, Udaka Pravahe Bhavaha Shibhyaha means if you go to Niagara or such other great falls, the Jog Falls or whatever falls you go, the huge roar of the water, that is a Shibha. Shibhya means the roaring waters. So the quickly moving waters, there he sees Rudra. Shibhya, the roaring waters, that roar of the waters reminds him of the divinity there. Urmyayacha. Now shift to a place where you can see the wavy waters. So Urmi is wave. Urmyayacha. Urmishu tarangeshu bhavaha urmyaha. In the wavy, gentle, wavy waters, he sees Rudra. The Rishi sees Avasvanyayacha. In certain places, the water does not, though it moves, it does not make any swana, means a soundless. So in the soundless movement of water, see, compare Shibhya, roaring water, and Avasvanya, means the soundless water. Everywhere, see how minute. As the changing hues of the sun was observed, the different flow or movement of the water is observed. And then Srotasya cha, Srotasi pravahe bhavaha Srotasyaha. Alpa pravaha. See, Shibhya is massive, tumultuous roar, and Srotasya is a thin stream. So the commentator compares and gives the difference. Shibha Srotasor Mahatva Alpabhyam Vedaha. So the great roaring flow is a Shibha, and Srotas means a thin water trickle or a thin stream. There also Rudra is there. And then Dvipyaya cha, Dvipe Bhavaha Dvipyaha. When the water in the middle finds a land area, so it flows around that and creating an island. So he celebrates the water that circumambulates the earth and goes, the piece of land and goes. That is a Dvipya water. So quickly flowing water, roaring water, wavy waters, a soundless flow, and then a thin stream, and then the water that circumambulates the land and goes. So in all these pulsations of the nature, especially in the form of water, the Rishi sees the Namaha, everywhere Namaha. Salutations to Rudra, whom I see in each and every aspect of such nature. So then what happens is, before we go ahead, let us just go to Europe. There is something called as a CERN, the European Center for Research in Particle Physics in Geneva. So there in 2004, a statue representing Nataraja was given by the Indian government to celebrate the research center's long association with India. Now you can see a small plaque below the Nataraja statue given in 2004 by Indian government. What is there? What is the text there? You can you may be intrigued, and why have I brought it here? So the text is here for you to see. There are two quotations, one from Ananda Kumaraswamy and one from Fridtjof Capra. So they have been written there. What does Ananda Kumaraswamy say on seeing this Nataraja? Ananda Kumaraswamy, seeing beyond the unsurpassed rhythm, beauty, power and grace of Nataraja, once wrote, this is the reading in the plaque. It is the clearest image of activity of God which any art or religion can boast of. So Nataraja, the wavy Nataraja, we just saw about the waters, the wavy movement embodying Nataraja is the clearest image of activity of God which any art or religion can boast of. And Capra, a physicist, what he says? He says modern physics has shown that the rhythm of creation and destruction is not only manifest in the turn of the seasons and in the birth and death of all living creatures, but it is also the very essence of inorganic matter for the modern physicist. Then Shiva's dance is the dance of subatomic matter, and Capra says, the plague further continues. Hundreds of years ago, Indian artists created visual images of dancing Shivas in a beautiful series of bronzes. In our time, physicists have used the most advanced technology to portray the patterns of the cosmic dance. The metaphor of cosmic dance thus unifies ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics. When we see the various movements of water being celebrated, a physicist is inspired to state this. So what we can see is our ancient Chola and other bronze sculptures were inspired by the Vedas. This movement that is described in the nature, that is in Sri Rudra especially, that movement that of the nature that inspired the Vedic Rishi, inspired our sculptors to create this Nataraja form. And that Nataraja form inspires the art enthusiasts or scholars like Ananda Kumaraswamy, and that inspires the physicists to look into the subatomic, connected to the subatomic particles movements. So in this way, this is how now there is multiple very deep layered connections of the Vedas that we can see that inspires everyone. The scholar, we started with how the Vedas are an expression of the common man's experience, and in common man's experience, which is reflected in the Vedas, the physicist like Capra sees the profound subatomic movements reflection given. So we can see the value of the Vedas. It is not just any other chant, such profound connections. And these people whom I have quoted are not very who just don't state things off their cuff or something like that. Very deep reflections, very deep scholars they are. That is the connection. So it is not merely reflection on the nature, but it is a very deep, very profound, organic expression of our life itself that we can see through the Vedas that comes through, which has many, many wonderful dimensions. So now we continue with the water. This was just a digression. I don't say it is a digression, but it was the essential connection that we had to bring through. Okay. Now more about the water. The Rishi says in the Shatarudriyam, Katyaya cha Nipyaya cha Namasudhyaya cha Sarasthaya cha Namo Nadyaya cha Vaishantaya cha Namah Kupyaya cha Vatyaya cha Namo Varshaya cha Varshaya cha Namo Meghyaya cha Vidyut Namo Meghyaya cha Vidyutyaya cha Nama Idriyaya cha Tapyaya cha Namo Bhatyaya cha Reshmiyaya cha Namo Vastavdyaya cha Vastupaya cha. So again, so many other connections to water are brought through this. So Kutsitam Atati iti Katyaha, Alpa Jala Pradeshaha, an area where small water has collected or a small flow of water is there, that is Katyayacha. That is Katya. Nipyayacha. Nyakbhavena Patati Sahadeshaha Nipyaha, where water flows downwards. That is the Nipa. So I see Rudra in that Nipa. So Rudra is Nipya. And then Sudya. Kardamaha Sudaha means Kardama is the field, the paddy field or such other fields which are filled with water. They are standing waters in which the grains grow. So that land area with the wet land area for grains, that is Suda or Kardama. So the water that I see, that is also Rudra, that is Sudya. Sarasyayacha, Prasiddham means the lake and lake that we see, that is a Saras. I see in that lake Rudra. And then Nadyayacha, Nadyam Bhavaha, Nadyaha. And then Veshantaha, Vaishantyayacha, Alpasaraha, a small pond. If Saraha is a lake, Veshanta is a pond. And then Kupyayacha, our own backyard well. I don't know, most houses don't have well these days. All this is now motor mechanized, etc. So Kupa is a small well that we have. Avatyayacha, Avataha, Gartaha. Garta means if there is a small pit. So when rain flows, so the water gets collected. So the collection of water in small pits. So Avatyaya. So see, he enjoys, the Rishi does not make any difference at all. So wherever there is water, it is celebrated. Apo va idagum sarvam vishwa bhutan yapah prana va apah pashava apo namapo mritamapaha. Everywhere he celebrates water. The small, in the potholes, if water is collected, that is Avatya. He celebrates that. In a pond, he celebrates the water there as Rudra. And then if there is a lake, there he celebrates. And if there is a huge waterfall, so there also he celebrates that source of water. And then Varshyayacha, that which comes through the rain, the raining waters. So in this way, for waters, there are so many such references where the Rishi simply celebrates the waters, and then we see more on waters. And Namastirthya cha Kulyaya cha Namah Parjaya cha Varjaya cha Namah Prataranaya Chottaranaya cha Namah Atarjaya cha Ladyaya cha Namah Shashpyaya cha Phenyaya cha Namah Sikatyaya cha Pravahyaya cha. So Tirthyaya cha. So I see Tirthadishu, Gangadishu Bhavaha Tirthyaha. So not only, so the waters of Ganga, Yamuna, etc. are tirthas. We celebrate that. Of course, previously we saw even a water collected in a pothole is worth celebration for this Vedic Rishi. Of course, Ganga, if that is there, why not Ganga and other tirthas? Kulyayacha. So Kula means the bank. So the Rishi salutes the water of Ganga and such other sacred rivers. The Rishi salutes the banks of the river. And then Paryayacha. In bank also there are two banks. The bank on the other side, the bank on this side. Paryayacha, Nadinam Param Tiram. The other side of the bank is also Rudra. Avaryayacha. Our side of the bank is also Rudra. So everywhere. And then Prataranayacha. Prakrishtena margena papatarana hetuhu prataranaha, and so on and so forth. So in this way, we have to see so many other aspects. So we can see the flow of water is celebrated. And then the various collections of water is celebrated. The river and the banks and the crossing of the river, all these are also celebrated. And we also see that the dynamism of the movement of the water and what are all the dimensions that it can open up in the mind for the inspired person to observe. Not only for the inspired, even the common person can enjoy all these things and slowly develop an appreciation to the nature. All that is raised to the level of divinity. Okay. Now from the dynamic waters, let us come to the relatively static space, that is the land. What does the Rudra have to say about it? So that is also celebrated as a Devata. Nama Irinjaya cha Prapathyaya cha Nama Irinjaya cha Prapathyaya cha Namah Kigum Shilaya cha Kshayanaya cha, and so on and so forth. The mantra goes on where every aspect of the land is also celebrated. So Irinya means a saline soil. Irinam, Usharam, a soil which is salty, where nothing will grow. So that is also Rudra. I worship that aspect of Rudra. Prapatyayacha. What is prapatyaha? Prapathaha kshunna margaha, where people have often trodden. So that path is also Rudra. Kim shilayacha or kigum shilayacha. Kutsitaha shilaha yasmin, where there are so many stones which may make us tumble and fall. So that is pebbled or a stoned path. So that is kigum shila, kim shila. That is also Rudra. Kshayanayacha. Kshayana means vasayogyaha pradeshaha, a place where we can build houses and reside. That is also Rudra. Goshtyayacha, a god who means the Goshtha means the cowshed. The Rudra is also found in the cowshed. Grihyayacha, he is found in our house also. Talpyayacha, on the cot. Gehyayacha, in the palace. And then Katyayacha. Katya is Kantaka Latadi Paripurnataya Dushpraveshatvam Prapnoti iti Kataha. The thorny and the creeper entwined path. So that is the land area. So that is Kata. So that is also Rudra. And Gahvareshthayacha. Gahvara means the caves. So the one who stays in the caves. Caves are also, and the residents of the caves are also Rudra. So in this way, every inch, every kind of land, from saline soil to the trodden path, to the rocky path, to the thorny area, to our own house, the cowshed, residential land, and even the difficult Gahvara, the caves, all this is Rudra. When this is our Vedic wisdom, there was a particular prime minister who said, why to worry about a particular landscape where not even a blade of grass grows? No, whether grass grows or not, every piece of the land, especially of our Bharata Desha, is pulsating with the presence of Rudra. So hence, so this will be a person, let him be of any background, any walk of life, if he is inspired by the Vedas, especially the politicians, if they are inspired by this Vedic knowledge, every inch of our land will be Devata for them. So hence, the need of knowledge of the Vedas is essential, not only for only certain people who are interested. It should be given to each and every person to understand the divinity in which we reside. We cannot just discard or say that, no, this piece of land is not useful for me, so I don't want it. I don't care if someone takes over it. No, whether it is saline or which is rich, it is my country. I can see the Rudra there. So that is the inspiration that one could have derived. If our forefathers or certain preceding generations are informed by this Vedas, the Vedas go further. The Rudra goes further and says that Pagum Savyayacha, Rajasyayacha, Shushkyayacha, Harityayacha, Lopyayacha, Ulapyayacha, Urvyayacha, Surmyayacha, Parnyayacha, Parnashadyayacha. The point which I mentioned earlier, whether it is a dry or wet, useful or not so fertile, everything is Rudra. So, Pamsavyayacha, Rajasyayacha. Pamsu are invisible tiny particles of land. And Rajasya means the visible tiny particles, that the dust, the invisible tiny particle of dust is Pamsu, and Rajas is the visible tiny particles. And then Shushkyayacha, Harityayacha. So that which is lush green, Haritya. That which is dry, that is also Rudra. And then Lopyayacha, Ulapyayacha. Lopyaya means where no plant grows, that is Lopya. Ulapyaya is again where it is arable, it is fertile. And then Parnyayacha, Parnashadyayacha means a fresh leaf in the tree and then dry leaves. So whichever is part of that, every particle is sacred, be it the small visible dust or invisible particles that are suspended. Every aspect is sacred for us. That's why probably this Vedic wisdom has distilled into our minds and it flows through the blood, and especially in great manifestations of Rudra like Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda is seen as Shiva only. When his mother poured water saying Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, he will calm down. So Vivekananda, when he returned from the West, he rolled on the ground in Bharata, because probably that ingrained Vedic teaching that every particle of this Bharata Bhumi especially is pulsating with the presence of Devata, especially Rudra, that inspired him. So directly or indirectly, tangibly or intangibly, that Vedic knowledge that has come through, survived through this millennia, if not inspires the masses widely, it expresses time to time through one or the other great Mahatmas who lived closer to our times. So this is what we learned from Swami Vivekananda's life. Now we move to the flora aspect of it. So when we see that, then we see that Namo Vrikshebhyo Harikeshebhyaha Vrikshanam Pataye Namaha. So the trees are celebrated. Vrikshebhyaha Namaha. Rudra is seen as trees with green hair. How are the trees celebrated? Trees are Harikeshaha with green hair. And earlier also we saw Vrikshanam Pataye Namaha, the Lord of trees. And then only big trees are Rudra. What about the grass? Namas Saspinjaraya Tvishimate. So he says, the Vedic Rishi says, Saspinjaraya. What is Saspinjaraya? The commentator clarifies, Sasiti Balatrinam Uchyate. So Pinjara iti Pita Raktaha Sankirna Varnaha Balatrinavat Pinjaraha. He says that Saspinjara refers to Sas means Balatrina. The Vedic expression Sas means the small growing grass, small grass, the fresh grass. And what is the color of that fresh grass? Pita Raktaha. It is a mix of yellow and red. See the observation of the Rishi. He observed the crimson color of the rising sun. He observes the freshly sprouting grass, which is a mix of red and yellow. And he sees from the massive trees, there he sees Rudra. And then this small sprouting grass, he sees Rudra. And then, so there also Rudra in the massive trees and in the sprouting grass, he sees Rudra, fresh grass. And then Kakshanam Pataye Namaha, the shrubs in the forest, that is also Rudra. Vananam Pataye Namaha, the forest itself is Rudra. Oshadhinam Pataye Namaha, the grains and crops like paddy, wheat, etc., that is also Rudra. So previously, the dust of the country on which Swami Vivekananda rolled, so that is the Vedic expression, this small grass, that inspired Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. We read from the Gospel of Ramakrishna and such other literature of Sri Ramakrishna tradition that once when he was gazing out of the window onto the Ganga and on the banks of river Ganga, fresh green, lush green grass was growing, and then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa lost himself, attained samadhi in that green grass. And then later people found hoof marks on the chest of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Where were the hoof marks from? The cows which walked on the fresh grass, those hoof marks were felt in his chest. So see, this meditation upon the nature leads to samadhi and that oneness experience. So that inspiration where Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa could have got from the Vedic tradition in which he is also part of it, and in whom again the same Vedic inspiration is there. So he derived that. So hence, that as I said, not everyone would have experienced it. Certain Mahatmas, certain Vibhutis in different times they manifest and ask us through their life experience to connect back to the Vedas. The green grass leads to Samadhi. So another yogic significance is that all these descriptions are worth meditating upon. So these are all Dhyaya Vastus, object of meditation. All these can be taken up as people create for the yogic meditation so many things. Why not meditate upon all these aspects which have direct Vedic license? The Vedas asks us to meditate upon all these aspects to become one with the nature, feel the presence of Devata, feel the presence of Rudra. So in the trees, and then when we come to the fauna, there Pashunam Pataye Namaha. So to that, the Lord of the Pashus. There are so many interpretations to Pashupati. So we can see that the commentator says, Yesham Ishe Pashupati Pashunan Chatushpadam Utacha Dvipadam. The Vedas say, when we say Pashus, Chatushpat and Dvipat, the four-legged and two-legged, all those animals are to be. So when Pashunam Pati is mentioned, the Vedas say, Etavanto vai Pashavo, Pashavo, Dvipadascha, Chatushpadascha. All the Vedas are very clear in classifying the animals as a two-legged and four-legged. So Pashunam Pati involves all the four-legged and two-legged. So what kind of four-legged and two-legged? All that are beautiful in the like the deer that is portrayed in the picture? No. Namashwabhya Shwapatibhyascha vo namaha. That is also Sri Rudra. All kinds of animals, even the dogs. Normally, the dogs are used as to scold some people. No, every form of living being, every animal is Rudra. So, Shwabhya Shwapatibhyascha vo namaha. And these mantras have inspired Bhagavad Gita, where we see Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shwapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. The later Bhagavad Gita which emerged was inspired by the Rudra when it says Shwabhyaha Shwapatibhyaha Shuni Chaiva Shwapakecha. Everywhere the Panditas. This is Samadarshana. Where does it come from? This Vedic inspiration. So we can see all our philosophy, all our art forms. When we say everything we trace back to the Vedas, everything has come from this form. So the exalted philosophy that you find in the Gita has emerged from Shwabhya Shwapatibhyascha vo namaha, from Rudra. It is not at all wrong to state this. So because Vedokhilo Dharma Moolam. So these are how the nature outside was experienced. Now the nature that we are part of very much, this microcosm here, the varied kind of us, the human beings, that is also equally celebrated when he says, Namo Rathibhyo Rathebhyascha vo namo namo Rathebhyo Rathapatibhyascha vo namaha Senabhyaha Senanibhyascha vo namo namaha Kshatribhyaha Sangrahitribhyascha vo namaha Takshabhyaha, Rathakarebhyaha, Kulalebhyaha, Karmarebhyaha, Punjishtebhyaha, Nishadebhyaha, Yushukribhyaha, Dhanvakribhyaha, Mrigayubhyaha. All, whatever profession, whatever activity that you do as human beings, everyone is worth respecting. Out of their nature, out of their predispositions, people may be involved in doing so many things. Each of them has to be respected. So the commentator says, Rathibhyaha, people may possess ratha or cars. Arathebhyaha means people who may not have rathas. So rich people, simple, common, poor, normal people, they are also Rudras. Rich people are Rudras. Poor people are Rudras. Rathebhyaha, the chariots are also Rudra. Rathapati, the owners of Ratha is Sena, the army is Rudra. Senani, the soldiers are Rudra. Kshatribhyaha, Ratha Chalakaha Kshattaraha, the drivers or the Sarathis are Kshattas. Sangrahitribhyaha, there may be certain people when the Ratha comes, they collect and bring the Ratha to its station. So they are Sangrahitas. Takshabhyaha, carpenters are Rudra. Ratha Karebhyaha, those who create the Rathas, those who sculpt the Rathas. Kulalebhyaha, potters are Rudra. And then Karmarebhyaha, the blacksmiths are Rudra. Punjishtebhyaha, Pakshipunjanam Ghatukaha Punjishtaha, those who capture and kill birds for a living, they are also Rudras. Nishadebhyaha, hunters, they are also Rudras. Ishukridhyaha, Dhanvakridhyaha, those who create bows, arrows. Mrigayubhyaha, those who do hunting for their living. All these varied kinds of human beings are Rudra. No difference. Everyone do one profession or the other for their survival. Some are rich and endowed with resources. Some are not. Everyone is Rudra. Probably this inspired our Acharya Shankara to compose Manisha Panchakam. Chandalostu Satudvijostu Gururityesha Manisha Mama. Shwabhyaha Shwapatibhyaha. Chandala, those who are from that particular way of living, they are also my gurus. Where does this inspiration come from? From Sri Rudra. So that, as I said, every aspect of life has its source in the Vedas. This is the respect to the diversity. So among us, and observe that in the nature also. And it says that there may be so many details yet to cover in the nature. Toward the end, the Sri Rudra says, Namo Rudrebhyaha ye prithibhyam ye antarikshe ye divi yesham annam vako varshamishavastebhyo dasha prachir, dasha dakshina, dasha pratichir, dashodhichihi, dashordhvastebhyo namasteno mridayamtu. See, there may be Rudras on the earth, there may be Rudras in the atmosphere, there may be Rudras in the heaven. Dasha prachihi. Dasha means 10 fingers. I collect them and then I offer my salutations. Prachihi in the eastern direction. Dasha pratichihi in the western direction. In the Dasha dakshinaha, I offer these 10 fingers of salutation in the southern direction. Dasha udichihi, salutations with the 10 fingers in the northern direction. Salutations urdhvaha, above. Salutations below. So salutations everywhere. This is a sense of total reverence that can to the nature, all aspects of nature. Namo jyeshtebhya kanishtebhya. Every aspect for them I offer my 10. Dasha prachihi. So these 10 are offered to everything around me. That is the sense of gratitude. That is the sense of reverence for the nature within, the diversity here, the diversity outside in the form of water, river, so on and so forth. In all these forms, flora, fauna, flow of river, the sun, diversity in people, the landscape, everything. As we see, it has inspired physicists, it has inspired philosophers, it has inspired great scholars, it has inspired poets. And that makes an inspired living is a happy living, real living, joyful living, anandamaya jivana. So what the Vedas have taught us in summary to conclude is that observe the nature with keen and curious eyes. And not only observe, the Rishi has documented it. Note the diversity in creation within and without, and then venerate the natural diversity to the level of Rudra and offer your 10 fingers. So that is mentioned. And then practice this reverence. So why do we chant the mantras? Why do we revere the mantras? Because it is the storehouse of such a reverence, respect, and inspiration. So hence, in the form of mantras, it has been given for us to do the chanting. So the first stage is chanting. We chant, 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 so that knowledge is kept intact. See, even if we have not gone into the meaning at this point of time, if we keep the text alive, the meaning is set to emerge. So hence practice that reverence through chanting and discuss and disseminate. So the mantras, swadhyaya of the mantras are to be done and pravachana of the mantras should be done. That's why the Vedas say, Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. If pravachana of one literature or the other literature happens or not, the pravachana of the Vedas are of greatest importance for all these very, very practical purposes towards sustainability, towards respect and reverence, to preserve the nature, to respect the nature, to organically grow and glow with nature. What is important is what we can do. We cannot create Vedas at this point of time. We have already this valuable Vedas. What we have to do is a swadhyaya of the Vedas and most importantly, pravachana of the Vedas. The mantrarthas are to be given utmost importance because they are such storehouses of powerful knowledge. Hence, that is the way forward for the entire universe, for harmonious, happy, and the very sustainable way of living. So hence, this is the formula. This is the sutra that the Vedas show us towards a harmonious, happy, and sustainable way of living. And finally, to close off, I would quote that the one who absorbs this spirit of the Vedas in this way and incorporates in one's way of living. So especially the Rudra, what does it say in the same commentary which I quoted? A Purana is quoted by Abhinava Shankaracharya. He says, Rudradhyayi vasedyatra grameva nagarepiva vyadhihi durbhiksha choradi badha tatra na jayate. A person who is a Rudradhyayi, who chants, who practices the Rudra in letter and spirit, let him be in Grama or in Nagara, wherever he stays, Grameva Nagarepiva, wherever he stays, a person who follows Sri Rudram in the letter and spirit, Vyadhihi, illness, Durbhiksham, famine, Chora, antisocial tendencies and elements, the Badha, the affliction from all these, Na Jayate, will not be there. A society that is transformed in this manner from within and respects the nature outside, where will corona-like diseases manifest? Where will famine will be there? No, there will be a very prosperous give and take with the nature. So extreme use of the nature will not be there. There will be a respectable use of the nature. And then when the nature is giving in a bountiful, plentiful manner, when the nature shows the way for upakara, then there will be their apaharana or antisocial tendencies. So to avoid vyadhi, to avoid durbhiksha, to avoid choradi bhayam, what should be done is surrender to the Vedic teachings, absorb the Vedic knowledge, and slowly incorporate as a community, as a society, as a globe to reach the state of harmony and peace. So with this, I end my presentation. I would be happy to take up any points or observe. I want to take your comments. So, Sophia ji.
Namaste. Thank you so much for that in-depth presentation, Jayaraman ji. It was just so incredible to see how you made the connection between chanting Veda and the explanation and the meaning, and why, there's so many things that manifest when one recites and chants also. So it's always nice to put practice into context. And I think that happened very beautifully today. So we already have a couple of questions and comments, and everyone, we had a few questions before the session about where the link will be shared. The link has already been shared in the chat. So everyone can please, anyone who'd like to share the link, it has been made available. This is on our Facebook channel. And these sessions are recorded. So this video will be available on the Indica website, on our social media pages, and also on our YouTube. So Koti ji will also put our YouTube link in the chat box, so you can access that and you can share this video and come back and watch it, because there was so much information. So if you want to go through the video again, share it with friends and family, please go ahead. The links will be shared in our chat box. Koti ji, please make them available. So we'll start with our questions. Our first question is from Sahana ji, who is asking if it's Shigriya and not Shirgriya.
Yes, that's a typo. Thank you for pointing out. I'll be corrected.
Thank you. Ananya ji is saying, what is saline soil?
Means a soil where plants do not sprout.
Then we have a comment from Heramba ji, who's saying it's beautiful to listen to this in the month of Shravan. Thank you so much. We have another comment from Anjan ji, who's saying this session brings all the aspects of sustainability, that it brings it to the masses for better living on our Mother Earth and Thanksgiving. And she really enjoyed the session. Thank you for tuning in, Anjan ji, and watching. Sahana ji is saying, did you say Pirtha Raktaha is the color of fresh grass?
Means the just sprouting grass.
Okay. So I hope that answers. We have a comment from Rajat.
Raktaha, of course, is sas iti balatrana visheshaha. Sas refers to the sprouting grass, and then that is described as to have been endowed with Pinjara Varna. Pinjara is described in the commentary as a mix of Pita and Rakta. That is red and yellow. Means sometimes the grass around us may not look like that. The Rishi might have seen such grass sprouting in his vicinity. So until the variety or the diversity in the nature, we cannot rule out. if we don't perceive it at this point of time. There is a possibility that such thing exists.
Thank you. Then Rajita ji saying this was a beautiful session. Thank you for watching. Sarita ji has a comment and a question. Lord Shiva is often seen as the Lord of destruction. Here he is portrayed in the celebration of life and nature in all its power and glory. So Shiva is both life and destruction. That's a question. Is this a common theme in our Vedantic tradition where our gods are shown as embodying opposites, or is it our interpretation of the text?
This is not at all our interpretation of the text. Whatever is that, that's why I said, whatever naturally, easily emerges from the text that is placed before you. And it is not that we have to harmonize everything. That is the important theme. Let the diversity, let the pair of opposites, let them exist in all their variations. So that is the message. It is not an effort to harmonize or kind of accept all the thing and bring it together. No, all the diversity, we respect it as it is. So that is the theme, which is, and this is not a Vedantic theme, it is the Vedic theme. So that's what comes from Shushkyaya cha Harityaya cha. The fresh green and the dry, everything is Rudra.
Thank you so much, Sarita ji. I hope that answers your question.
And yeah, sorry, one more addition is the Vedas themselves say Ghoranya, Shivanya, Tanuhu. Shiva has two forms. The Ghora form, that is also there, means that which destroys, annihilates. So that is also there, very much there in most portions of the Rudra initially, in the initial portions of Sri Rudra and towards the end also in Rudra, there is a lot of fear expressed. Oh Rudra, don't put the arrow into the bow, don't aim that arrow towards us, don't release the arrow towards us, towards me, my son, my family, don't hurt, don't harm. That Ghora Shiva is also mentioned in the Vedas. And these are the Shiva aspects, means the auspicious aspects. Again, that is also the aspect or the diversity of Rudra. The two faces of Rudra, both are equally represented in Sri Rudram.
Thank you. Then we have a few more comments. Bhanumurti ji is saying, thank you for the excellent presentation. Thank you for tuning in and watching and joining us today. Bhanumurti ji, same Rajita ji, thank you for watching. She's saying, thank you so much to Jayaraman ji. Bhanumurti ji is then asking, what are the benefits of chanting?
The last one, no? Vyadhihi durbhiksha choradi badha naiva jayate. Overcoming illness, overcoming famine, overcoming antisocial tendencies, all that is pacified by chanting the Rudra, not merely chanting, also absorbing the spirit or the message of the Rudra. And most interestingly, if you go into the commentary of Abhinava Shankaracharya, each mantra, each section of the mantra is given with Rishi Devata Chandas. And those specific mantras have specific benefits. And what I presented towards the end is the complete outcome of chanting the entire Rudra as it is. Yadhi, Durbhiksha, Chora, Badha, Nivritti.
Thank you. We'll just take a few more questions. So I'm going to combine some questions. We have these two, I think, are very relevant. Can women chant the Rudram? And do we need to be initiated for chanting Rudram?
So, the Utainang Gopa, Adrishan Udahar Jaha, the cowherds, the women who carry the water, when everyone can appreciate Rudra in the form of sun, in the Vedic tradition in which I have come, so all the deserving, earnest, dedicated souls, Jivatmans, can chant the Rudra if they find Rudra as their means for finding an anchoring towards connecting to the divinity. Why not?
Thank you. Then again, we have a lot of our audience asking about the Chamakam. So could you just shed some light on that? I've just combined all those questions because everyone's asking a lot about the two. So if you could just give a general explanation that might answer everybody's questions.
Yes, in the Vedic tradition, we chant Rudram as seen as Namakam, where Namaskara, salutations to Rudra is offered. And later in the Vedic portion, we have Chamakam, where it is generally considered me, to me, Give this to me. Shancha me, majascha me, priyancha me, nukamascha me, kamascha me, saumanasascha me, bhadrancha me, shreyascha me, vasyascha me. Give me this, give me that, good sleep, sushacha me, sudinancha me. So, initially in Rudram, the generally thing is we salute Rudra in all his manifestation. In Chamakam, we ask all that we require for a material, spiritual well-being and happiness. So this is what is generally conveyed through Sri Namakam and Chamakam. Rudram and Chamakam. Of course, when a subsequent session, we can elaborate, discuss Chamakam also. That also brings about the love for life that our ancestors had, that our Vedic forefathers had. They were not otherworldly. As Sri Aurobindo would put, one should study the Ramayana, one should study the Vedas to see how much they loved the life now and here. That is embodied in the Chamakam also. Maybe we can take it up in one of the subsequent sessions.
Thank you so much. We'll just take one more comment because I think to end, it's a very, very lovely way. It's from Dr. Lalita Sharma, who's saying, thank you for this wonderful talk. She has also authored 2 papers on the Shri Rudram, and it feels wonderful to receive this scholarly validation of her endeavor. Thank you so much, Dr. Lalita, and to all our participants who tuned in today. And just to remind everyone, these sessions are recorded, so you can always look at it again on our YouTube channel, the Indica website, as well as our social media. It will be put up on YouTube and the website later, but the Facebook link has already been shared with everyone. Before we sign out, we also have 2 announcements to make. Of course, tomorrow is our Ayush talk session. This session will be held tomorrow between 12 and 1 p.m. It's about managing anorectal diseases with Yajur Veda, which is a very common problem with a lot of lifestyle, with the fast lifestyles that a lot of people lead these days. So please join us tomorrow for this. It will also be recorded because it's in the afternoon. So in case you can't make it in the afternoon. And we're very excited to share our next announcement is Indica Yoga's first Yoga Utsava, the Indica Mysuru Yoga Utsava, which is going to be an in-person event in Mysore between the 15th and 17th of December. We're going to be sharing details of this Utsava very soon on our website, and we hope we see all of you there. Thank you so much. Jayaramji, before we leave, any words of advice for our viewers?
Yes, my request is everyone connect back to the Vedic source. And I remember my father, a journalist, from his studies, he used to say that as we lost touch with the Vedas, that's where the difficulties that the civilization as such faces is because of the disconnect with the Vedas. So all of us need to go back to that Vedic connect, even during the Maratha period. While the Vedic chanting was promoted by the Maratha kings, I may be corrected. This is what I heard from my father. So the knowing of the meanings for the Vedic mantras, if that had been promoted, their warfare skills would have been superior. So my father used to have read somewhere, and he used to keep repeating that not only the ecology dimension that has its sources to the Vedas, even the superior skills, forces, and capabilities that we can manifest from our faculties, that would have been better if our connect with the Mantrartha tradition, Vedartha tradition would have been more. We already celebrate the Maratha kings for their prowess and this thing. So if in their times, the Veda Mantrartha tradition had been strengthened. I think this is quoted from some of the speeches of Guruji Golwalkar. So then we would have been much more stronger, potent people, helping not only the sustenance and survival of our own Hindu dharma and culture. It would have been Vishwaguru, means a guiding light, providing solace and well-being and happiness with all the resources that we can rally. So hence the Vedic way of life, let us all connect to the Vedas in one way or the other. Start by chanting the Vedic mantras and try understanding the meanings from authentic sources. This is my humble request to all the participants who have stayed thus far in this lecture.
Thank you so much. I think that's a beautiful message to end with. And I hope to see all of you tomorrow. And again, just a reminder, stay tuned into the Indica Yoga website and the Indica channels, because we're going to be announcing our festival very soon and how you can register and take part. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much.